Tyson Wilkins, Dayton, Ohio, June 26, 2008. In one of the more bizarre moments ever captured on courtroom cameras, a dramatic scene unfolded during the trial of Tyson Wilkins, who had chosen to act as his own attorney. On the second day of his trial, Wilkins, dressed sharply in a white suit, suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed to the floor mid-proceeding. The courtroom immediately descended into chaos as deputies rushed to his aid.
It should reflect that the defendant is slouching over to the side and acts like he's sleeping. His breath appears to be quite normal. Doesn't appear to be labored in any way. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
Yes.
Not labored in any manner.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does he appear to be doing anything to you other than sitting in that chair?
Fearing a serious medical emergency. For several minutes, extensive medical assistance was provided on the scene, but what seemed like a life-threatening moment quickly turned into something else. Upon closer examination, medical personnel found absolutely nothing wrong with Wilkins. It soon became clear that the dramatic fall was a staged medical emergency, an attempt by Wilkins to disrupt or delay the trial. The judge, visibly frustrated, scolded Wilkins for his disruptive stunt and made it clear that the courtroom would not be turned into a theater. After being called out on his bluff, Wilkins had little choice but to continue representing himself. The trial resumed, and in the end, Tyson Wilkins was convicted of felonious assault and several other charges. He is now serving a 42-year prison sentence. This incident remains a textbook example of how courtroom theatrics can backfire, especially when the cameras are rolling and the judge isn't buying it. Quincy Tuttle. In a chilling reminder of the growing concern over school safety, 12-year-old Quincy Tuttle was sentenced to 2 years in juvenile detention for bringing a loaded handgun and ammunition to Frontier Middle School in Vancouver last October. According to authorities, Tuttle arrived at school on October 23 with the intent to harm 2 fellow students. In a plea deal finalized in court, Tuttle admitted guilt to 2 counts of first-degree attempted assault, along with theft of a firearm, second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm, and possession of a dangerous weapon on school ground. In exchange for the guilty plea, prosecutors dropped the more serious charge of first-degree attempted murder during sentencing.
I feel that at this point he needs to be held in order to protect him from himself and also the community. So that's going to be my decision today.
Superior Court Judge Scott Collier imposed additional penalties: 2 years of probation, 40 hours of community service, and restitution payments, which may include counseling costs for the 2 intended victims. In a statement read by his attorney, John Lutkins, Quincy apologized for his action. He said he was in a very dark and angry place at the time of the incident and has since been working with counselors on his anger issues while in custody at the Clark County Juvenile Detention Center, where he has been held since his arrest. Tuttle also expressed doubt that he would have actually gone through with the shooting. According to Deputy Prosecutor Abby Bartlett, Tuttle originally claimed he was planning to shoot a student who may have bullied his friend by calling him gay. Larry Gordon. Larry Gordon's 2016 hearing in a Michigan courthouse started like any other high-risk arraignment. Gordon was facing 16 charges, including kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder. He was considered dangerous but compliant. That illusion shattered in seconds. As 2 bailiffs escorted him through a corridor, Gordon suddenly attacked, seized one of their guns, and opened fire inside the courthouse. In the chaos that followed, 2 officers were killed and multiple people were injured. Witnesses described the scene as pure terror. Children screamed, attorneys fled, and police officers scrambled to stop the attack. Gordon managed to take a hostage, retreat into another room, and continue firing until he was finally killed in a shootout. The entire courthouse was placed on lockdown. For days afterward, survivors described the psychological horror of not knowing if they would live or die. Courtroom symbols of law and safety felt more like war zone. The incident prompted a complete overhaul of courtroom security in Michigan and other states. Body restraints were improved, weapons policies revised, and bailiff training intensified. But no amount of reform could erase the trauma experienced by those who lived through the attack. The deaths of the 2 bailiffs, both fathers and veterans of law enforcement, remain the most gut-wrenching outcome. Their names were later inscribed on a memorial wall. But for many, the memory of that day remains raw and terrifying. Corey Harris. In one of the most bizarre courtroom incidents of 2023, Detroit resident Corey Harris appeared via Zoom for a hearing concerning his suspended driver's license. The absurd part? Harris was literally driving during the call. As the virtual court session commenced, the judge watched in disbelief as Harris positioned his phone in his vehicle and steered with one hand. He was being charged for illegal driving and chose to attend the hearing by breaking the same law in real time. The moment quickly went viral. Social media exploded with clips of the judge's stunned face, while users mocked Harris's poor judgment. But behind the jokes was something more troubling: a complete disregard for authority and the legal system. Judge Cedric Simpson immediately revoked Harris's bond, issued a bench warrant, and scolded him on record. The hearing turned into a teachable moment, but at a disturbing cost. Legal experts called it one of the most blatant shows of disrespect ever seen in a courtroom. It wasn't just stupidity, it was arrogance. Harris seemed to genuinely believe he could outsmart the court, even when all eyes were on him. His case became a national example of how technology is changing the courtroom and how unprepared some defendants are to respect its rules, even when the consequences are real and immediate. Gerald Hyde II. In 2015, 24-year-old Gerald A. Hyde II showed that escaping from custody didn't need to be a complex or carefully crafted plan. During a routine escort through the courthouse, a moment of carelessness provided Hyde with the opportunity he needed. As a guard led him through an interior hallway, they turned away just long enough for Hyde to seize the moment. He quietly stepped backward, retracing his steps, and then suddenly bolted through the courtroom and out into the building's foyer. Security footage captured the chaotic escape as Hyde ran through the courthouse, shedding parts of his inmate attire. He left his shoes behind and ripped off his jail-issued shirt, eventually fleeing the building in just a white vest and jail pants. His sudden dash through the courthouse stunned bystanders and caught officers off guard. Despite the boldness of the act, his newfound freedom didn't last long. Just a few hours later, law enforcement tracked Hyde down at a friend's apartment, located only a few miles away. He was quickly taken back into custody and charged with second-degree escape for his actions. Commander John Law of the Benton County Sheriff's Office explained that Hyde had managed to slip into a corridor that created a blind spot for the escorting officer. He acknowledged that in an ideal situation, such an oversight wouldn't have occurred. Each of these cases reminds us that courtrooms are not always places of peace and closure. Sometimes they reveal the worst in people, their arrogance, violence, and absolute lack of empathy. The law may be blind, but those who sit in judgment can't ignore the emotional weight of what they see. These disturbing moments live on, not just in legal records, but in the memories of the families, attorneys, and judges who witnessed them. From smirking murderers to suicidal live streams and violent outbursts, these stories haunt the justice system. They remind us that even in a space built on truth and order, chaos can break through. And while sentences may be handed down, the damage done in that courtroom, psychological, emotional, and humanist, often permanent.